Good afternoon. I begin by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people, the traditional custodians of the land we meet today, and pay my respect to their elders past and present. I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. This is Life Cycle. Just a few qualifications. The third time I present a project today, so apologies. It feels like I have to crack the same jokes again and pretend that I'm telling them for the first time, so which might be a challenge. And so is some of the things you obviously heard before. So Simon, the owner, is here as well. And so, yes, so this is Life Cycle. Initially, and I've never done an interior design presentation either, so it's the first time for me. So this is Life Cycle. Initially, we called it Sonic Youth. The beautiful thing about doing a family home is that you connect. You connect to people. You accompany a family for 2 to 3 years, and then hopefully you can deliver a home for them that makes a change to their lives. So Simon and I, we both like Sonic Youth, so it seemed to be appropriate to call this project Sonic Youth. However, we started working with AI in the office, so I wrote a letter to ChatGPT and thought, how would you describe a house called Sonic Youth? And got an answer back within 2 seconds. Dear Steffen, the Sonic Youth house, inspired by the influential band, exudes avant-garde and innovative vibes, blending modern and postmodern elements for a striking appearance. Its interior boasts an open, fluid layout promoting creativity. The decor combines retro and contemporary influences. Eco-friendly materials and cutting-edge technologies underscore a commitment to sustainability, mirroring the band's experimental spirit. I was taken by the connection between sustainability and an American post-punk band, so I thought it was an appropriate name. But then I got cold feet and thought, maybe they're going to sue me. So I sent another letter to ChatGPT. Could the band Sonic Youth sue Steffen Welsch Architects for using the name in the 2024 Victorian Architecture Awards? And obviously the answer was consult with a band or a legal professional. So I do follow Kim Gordon on Instagram, so I sent her a message, but I didn't reply. So I renamed it Life Cycle. So, and the reason is we did a life cycle assessment for this project, and that actually gave us some very interesting findings. But I'll briefly touch on this later in the presentation. Just a few references that influence our thinking and our recommendations. These are always very personal projects, and you obviously, all your experiences, your learning, your own what you learn through travel or where you live impacts on how you design. So, there are a few other examples, and maybe I'll point out the Fang for the Küche by Margaret Schüttel-Hotzky that was built at the same time as the Barcelona Pavilion, or roughly, and I found that design much more interesting than Barcelona Pavilion, but I'm sure I'm the only architect in the Southern Hemisphere who thinks that. But what combines all these things is that they address everyday issues and very, very clever. You don't necessarily see them. And then, obviously, speaking of everyday issues, I had to put in my own house as a reference to where I made a few mistakes, which I'm trying to fix in any subsequent project. But you can also see the reference between Fang for the Küche, there again, and my own house, obviously. The concepts. So I grew up in a country with very limited access to resources, where you had to do everything from more or less inside. I ended up in a country with what seemed to be unlimited access to resources, where you just expanded if you wanted to solve a problem. The reality is obviously we're hitting our limits, or we have obviously already overstepped our limits. So I think what we need to do within without forgetting to look outside. So that's the underlying concept for our thinking. So how does it affect the design? We started off with a very simple building, a very simple plan that we dissolved, opened up, and then introduced elements that then informed the internal planning. There's a little courtyard between the old and the new house that has a fish pond. There's a winter garden between old and new, which works as a lobby. There's some planter boxes outside along the facade. There's a void that has a net in it that works as a thermal chimney, and there's some sun shading that also works as solar control. And then there are decks that sort of extend the house both into the backyard as well as into the front yard. And obviously all these sort of elements work together, and then they informed the internal planning. So, for example, the little fish pond, obviously, that courtyard throws light into the lobby, and obviously it draws you into the house as you enter. And then when you're at that point, obviously, you can either go upstairs or go down into the sunken communal area. The winter garden sort of extends the music room. The deck obviously works as an outdoor office if you want to use this. And then the planter boxes can be obviously veggie gardens where you can grow herbs and vegetables. I talked about mentioned the everyday before. I think it's sort of always important to think, how does a building work on a Tuesday afternoon or Thursday morning or whatever. So 2 minutes. Oh my God. So all these sort of things that how do you enjoy doing the washing? How's the kitchen functional? Can be personalized? Does everything has its place? Can you cook a meal within 20 minutes? Can you serve it in a room that is sort of comfortable, where you can have interesting conversations, that is relaxed, that works for 2 people as well as for larger groups, that's very approachable, and sort of has flexibility. It works very comfortable for larger groups, and it's very comfortable for 2 people as well. And then just briefly, thanks Uzma for all your beautiful detailing on that job. The house has an identity, and that identity carries through to the inside. Obviously, some of the elements how we express the facade also obviously are sort of now being repeated internally and give the house its identity. And then just speaking about identity briefly, I think part of your identity is too how your building relates to the outside. Upstairs can often be neglected because you got planning controls, overlooking issues, bulk, etc. So we always try to get around this. And for example, in this case here, we got this void with a deck with a net, and that basically captures the beautiful view of the sort of jacaranda tree, and becomes part of your sort of your identity and part of sort of connecting to your own home and to your neighborhood. And because it's not a habitable space, you don't need privacy screens. But we did actually deal with privacy screens. You can see it on the left. We framed the views of some historic buildings. The vegetation still provided privacy. Most exciting slide of the night: life cycle assessment, 79% savings against the 50% reduction target. Which we are really happy with. And that is Simon. So we texted each other sort of last week, and he says, house continues to be great. We had a bunch of neighbors over last night. It was super fun. Pond is beautiful. Solar going on shortly. Also, I still have your book. Thank you.